Section 3, Swyk 1. We're looking for exact values. Trust me, all of this practice that you're doing right now is going to help you a lot when you get to trig next year. And even if everything doesn't make all perfect sense right now with the unit circle and the exact values and the radians and the degrees, I'm telling you, next year when you do this again, you'll be like, oh, now I understand what he was talking about and how this fits with this and the picture and these values and, so it will get easier. I know you're like, okay, wait a sec. I understand degree, but this radiant crap, what the heck is this? And, I know sine, cosine, and tangent. Now you're telling me there's reciprocal trig functions. It will get easier, trust me. Okay, so cosecant. Cosecant goes with a regular trig function that starts with the opposite letter, so it must be sine. So what I tell my students is to go find the sine first. Well, so the sine, so let's see here. Here's 0, 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4. Remember, pi over 4 is 45 degrees, so I'm going 45 jumps. 4 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4. Okay, found it. And we want a y value. Is that negative a half? No. Is it negative radical 2 over 2? Yes. Is it negative radical 3 over 2? No. Is it negative 1? No. Obviously, the better you draw your circle, the easier it will be. But negative radical 2 over 2 is the y value. But I don't want the y value. I want the reciprocal of the y value. So you notice up here, I flipped it over. Okay, negative 2 over radical 2. Remember, a reciprocal keeps the same sign. It doesn't change signs. Whenever people flip it and change the sign, I think they're going back to geometry where we do perpendicular lines, and the slopes of perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. But reciprocals only flip. They don't change sign. Anyway, Math Excel will want you to rationalize that, so we multiply the top and bottom by radical 2, giving me negative 2 radical 2 over 2. Whoosh, those cancel, and that gives me, right here, negative square root 2. Next. What if it's a decimal? Okay. Definitely going to have to use a calculator. You're not going to do this any other way. So cosecant goes with sine. All right. So I literally went to my calculator and I typed the sine of 1.1. And it gave me this really long decimal, 0.019, blah, blah, blah. It rounded off. I decided just to write it on the screen as to round it off to the 10,000ths place. But look right here. Do not round until the final answer. Okay? So if you take sine 1.1 on your calculator and it gives you this really long decimal, I want you to do this. 1 divided by answer. There should be an answer button on your calculator. Now there is another strategy. We learned a long time ago that you could raise something to the negative first power. There is a button on your calculator. There's always a button. Now, I have seen some scientific calculators that have a 1 over x button. Same thing, but you've got to find a button like that. And it will do like this. It'll say like answer to the negative 1. Something like this. And it will immediately flip it over for you. It takes the reciprocal for you. And then you can round it off. 52.09. The last digit was rounded to 0. It rounded down to 0. But remember, it says nearest thousandth as needed. So if you only wrote 52.09 and you didn't put the extra 0, it's not going to matter. It'll be okay. If it does round one way or the other and it's not a 0, then obviously you need that digit. Okay, what about number 3 here? Cotangent pi over 3. Well, there's a couple of different ways to think about it. I would direct you to find the tangent of pi over 3. So go to your unit circle. Think about where radical 3 is. That's your 60-degree angle, right? That's the one that's steeper than the middle angle. The middle angle has a slope of 1. So the one that's bigger than that is radical 3. Okay, so once you've decided, okay, the tangent of pi over 3 is square root 3. Remember, anything can be divided by 1, right? Now flip it. You get 1 over radical 3 right here. Technically, that is the right answer. Now, if you want to try that in Math Excel to see if it'll take 1 over radical 3, go for it. A lot of times, though, it will want you to rationalize, and it'll say, while your answer is correct, it is not in the correct form. I don't know, it loves to do that kind of stuff. But you rationalize it by multiplying by radical 3 over radical 3 to the top, top and bottom. And then you get radical 3 on the top. Now, I know, you're probably like, well, don't you get radical 9 on the bottom? You do, but that's 3. So radical 3 over 3 is the correct answer to this question. So always go back to the regular trig function, find that value, then flip it. Cosecant negative pi. All right, think about this. You got 0 over here. Negative pi takes you over to the left side of the circle. For you, it would be like, yeah. Anyway, so I gotta always think backwards when I'm doing those things. Like that whole quadrant C thing. All right, now, if we're over here on the left-hand side, the coordinate on the left that is 1 unit away from the origin is negative 1, 0. Negative 1, 0. Remember, every point on the unit circle is 1 unit away. That's why they call it a unit circle, because every coordinate is 1 unit away from the origin. Well, if cosecant goes with sine, right, because it starts with the opposite letter, and sine is a y value, then the y value at that spot is 0. All right, so I wrote that down here, 0. And of course, anything can be divided by 1. 0 divided by 1. But we don't want 0, we want the reciprocal, which is 1 over 0. And you're sitting there going, wait a second, I thought you couldn't divide by 0. That's right, you can't. That's an undefined value, which is why the answer is letter B. The expression is undefined. That's right, because it doesn't exist. Anything where you have a 0 in the denominator is a problem because you can't divide by 0. Cotangent pi over 6. Okay, let's see. So obviously that goes with tangent. So I found the tangent of pi over 6. Pi over 6 is the one that's more shallow than the 1. Therefore, that's the slope of radical 3 over 3. And you'll notice right about in here, I decided to flip it over. 3 over radical 3. Of course, I had to rationalize it because Math Excel's typically, now you can try 3 over radical 3 and see if it works. It's technically the right answer, but if you rationalize it, you end up seeing that you get 3 on the bottom and the 3's cancel, leaving you with just square root 3. And that's enough for that Swyk. Bye.